Hi. So the first thing that I remember about Curtis is that when I was in high school as a senior, I was the youngest in my family, and Mom came to me as I was about to, I think I was about to start my senior year, and she told me that she was expecting. And I couldn't believe it, and so my friends and I were actually all kind of pretty excited to have him come, and we all brainstormed ideas for names for him. And when Curtis came to our family, I remember that he loved animals, and so I actually probably need to edit this part because I can't think of a specific story about that other than I remember that he loved animals. And then a story that I do remember is that when I was about to leave on my mission, and he was just, I don't think he was quite 2 at that point. I remember leaving and saying goodbye to everyone and getting the biggest bear hug from him. And he had a big heart, and he still does.
Okay, so when Curtis was little, he had he had a binky that he just loved his binky so much, and so I'd have more than one because in the middle of the night it would fall out of the bed, and so I would get another one, and so that I didn't have to climb under the bed. And so one day he found 3 binkies, and he was so excited, and he stuck them in his mouth, all 3 of them, and walked around the house with them because he loved them so much. And then when he got a little bit older, I tried to think of a way to take them away because he loved them so much. I didn't know what we were going to do. And so one day I told him, he was probably around 2.5, 3, and I said, Dane, or Curtis, we're going to have to let the garbage men take your binky because you're too old for it. And he goes, no. And I said, yeah, you're going to be really brave. And he goes, okay, I'll be brave. And so we put the binky in the garbage, and then we watched for the garbage man to come, and he watched him dump it in the garbage, in the back of the garbage truck, and drive off, and he's just so sad. And a little while later he came back to me and he said, Mom, can we go to the dump and find my binky because I love it so much. So, but we convinced him it would be pretty gross by then.
So anybody that knows Curtis knows that he's competitive, and he was that way from the day he was born. I can remember being out on the trampoline, and we would play games like Dead Man, and even at like 6 years old, he would not give up until he could get me down, and sometimes it would go on for like 20 or 30 minutes, and he would just keep fighting and fighting until I finally laughed so hard I fell down. But then when he was older, he must have been maybe 14, he challenged me to an arm wrestle, remember, up at the cabin. And so when I could see he was going to beat me, I had to stand up and use 2 hands. Once he knew that that he could beat me, then he never challenged me again. So that's Curtis. He likes to conquer and become a champion, and he is.
So Curtis was probably like 8 or 10 or something like that. And we're up here in this wonderful, great mountain of ours, and we're riding horses, and we're kind of like, you know, trotting along. Grandpa and I think Jared, you were with us too. So we're just kind of trotting along, and I remember we were going, and then all of a sudden, like, we got separated. I was like, where the heck is Curtis? And then we kind of think we got like going on this trail, and we just started going, and then when we came back, we're like, we can't find him. We go back to the lodge and find out Curtis has an allergic reaction to horses, and that's all I remember. So there's that. That was fun.
So I remember this was like probably the first time I really got to know Curtis. It was when I was a sophomore. I was a sophomore in high school, and we had just started my automotive class. And I knew of Curtis before. I'd heard about him. I'd seen him play football. I'd seen him play rugby. He's an amazing rugby player and football player and wrestler. And he was in my automotive class, and he sat right next to me. And me and my friend Joe, we were in that class, and I just remember thinking that he was probably just going to be, I don't know, kind of intimidating a little bit. But he sat next to me, and he knew my name somehow, and he just said, "Ryan, how you doing?" And he was just the nicest guy. He would always be checking up on me during that class when I'd be in the auto shop. He'd be over doing another project, and he'd come over and just check up on me and see how I was doing. And so that was a really cool thing that I saw in Curtis, and I really admired that, is that he was so genuine. Even with me, a little sophomore, he was a senior at the time, and he just really reached out to me and made me feel like a cool kid a little bit. And I don't know, Curtis is just a rad dude. I really like him, and I'm grateful for his example for me, because I looked up to him from that point on. And yeah, that's basically how I got to know Curtis. He really is sophomore year.
All right, my first recollections of Curtis is when he came over one night with Holly when they were in high school, and I was chatting with him, and he proceeded to tell me he was a wrestler, and I said, "Oh, that's what I did in high school." And we chatted about a few other things, and in that conversation, I knew that he was probably a pretty good wrestler. And wrestling myself, I knew that in order to become a pretty good wrestler, you have to work a little harder than I did. I wrestled in high school, but I didn't work at it probably as much as Curtis did. So, and since then I've seen some of his videos, and I know that he's a very, very good wrestler. So from that, I know that Curtis, when he sets his mind to doing something, he can really do it, and he can do it very, very well.
Okay, so I'm Lori. I'm Curtis's sister-in-law. And when he was on his mission, my family would often read his emails together. On a Monday night, we would just sit around and read the emails. At the first of his mission, it was kind of, we enjoyed them because a lot of it was ha ha, ha 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 ha, ha 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 ha. And we just loved reading those emails. But as he was on his mission longer and longer, that part kind of decreased, but the actual joy of his service and the way he loved the people deepened. So I loved watching that evolve. And now, being with him, I can just tell he's gained so much from that service and from his life experiences and being married to his lovely bride. So we just love Curtis.
All right, so it's my turn to share a memory of Curtis Matthew Bulloch. And I've been having a hard time pinning one thing down because there's just been so many fun antics these last few years that we've known Curtis. But he's a great help. He will do anything for you. And I was thinking, gosh, some things have crossed my mind. We've got a squatty potty here because of Curtis, and we've got a fountain and boulders in the backyard, you know, those beautiful boulders out there because of Curtis's help. And anyway, a few things I could say, but I think I pinned down this story to share because I don't know, I had to laugh, but yet it was a serious moment in his life. But I had to chuckle when I walked away from the situation. But it was the week that he was going to propose to Holly, and I was really happy that he asked me to be involved in it at all, and it was really fun. Kathy and I were involved in that, but it was a surprise, of course, for Holly, and it was going to be a proposal on Valentine's night, and it's a really kind of a long story as far as how he had to change his temple schedule and all this, but long story short, Holly thought that she was getting gypped on Valentine's Day. So, and Curtis was thinking in his mind, I've done 1,000 things for this girl and she's not very appreciative. Anyway, he was a little frustrated with her and she was a little frustrated with him, and I'm getting phone calls from both ends, you know, Holly over here and Curtis over here. But anyway, Valentine's was a Saturday night. He called me on Friday night and he was just like, Mom, I just don't know what to do with her. She just thinks that I'm not doing anything, and I don't know, I'm just going to tell her what's going on with the proposal. And I'm just going to tell her. Should I just tell her? I'm going to tell her. And I'm like, no, you can't tell her. You can't tell her. You got to just hold out till tomorrow. And he's like, well, what am I going to do? And I said, Curtis, just take her out to dinner and buy her some flowers and she'll be happy. And he was just like, a light bulb went off. Oh, I didn't think about that. And I said, she'll be fine, Curtis, I promise. She'll love it and it'll all be good. And it did. It all turned out just fine. But it was funny, that phone call, and the nerves. I'm sure his nerves were off the scale and trying to get ready. And he did plan a really fun week, and that was awesome. Turned out great. And we love Curtis Matthew Bulloch. Glad to have him in the family. And that's all I have to say. Over and out. Love you, bye.
So the night that Curtis proposed to Holly, he asked me to help out. He'd done the whole day like taking her down memory lane. And that night for dinner, he was gonna take her to a little casita that a friend of ours owns, but she didn't know where it was gonna be. He had her blindfolded the whole time. So he shows up, and I got roped into being the waiter. So stuck in the back room for like an hour. Every time they ring the bell, I had to come out. But after they left, I texted Holly's little sister and asked her if she wanted to go to a party that my friend was throwing. And she said sure. So we went out, and I thought I was going to have her home early. We went back around like 10 o'clock. I thought Curtis was going to have her out late. And we roll up right as Curtis is kneeling down to pop the question. So we just book it inside, and everyone else is peeping out the window and just screaming. He comes in, and I thought I was so dead. But now he didn't kill me. So yeah.
Okay, so I am Holly, Curtis's wife, and I feel like it's very hard to choose just one story about him, but I guess I was, a pretty big day in our lives was the day that we got married, and so I thought it would be fitting for me to talk about that in his life story video. And just a few things that I really remember from our wedding day is just how happy he looked. I felt so blessed. I was like, he must be happy to marry me, I guess. Anyway, but I remember he came and picked me up that morning before he went to get married, and he was just so excited, so giddy, and I just remember he just had this glowing smile all day, and just knowing Curtis, he's very genuine and he's very sincere, and I just remember that whole day I just felt so loved and cherished by him. And he's really good at, telling you or making you feel like you are really important to him. And I remember our wedding day, I did feel like that. And also something else from our wedding day, we stood in the line. We had a line for almost like 3 hours. And I just remember looking at Curtis, and every single person, he was just genuinely so happy that they were there supporting us. And that's him, he's just very genuine and caring and so grateful all the time. And also something else with our wedding day, him and his mission companions, he served in Uruguay, they had this Latino dance, and it's called Ziggy Ziggy Doom, and it's a really funny dance. And I just remember just laughing and watching him do this funny dance, and he had these aviator sunglasses on and had a lot of swag. He just doing this Latino dance. It was really funny. But anyway, I have very fond memories of our wedding day.
Curtis is always competitive and all. This one time, I think it was a month ago when he was 22 years old, we did pickleball, and I was going in first. I was like in first place at the beginning. Like I was about to beat him, and then all of a sudden I started messing up a lot, and he beat me. And of course he's always happy, but I've seen him before when he loses, and it's not very pretty. That's my memory of Curtis.
Okay, so I have 2 stories about Curtis. So the first one, the other day I've been like crashing at Holly and Curtis's house because I just got this new job up in Cedar. And so I've been kind of like commuting back and forth between St. George and Cedar. And so I've been staying at their house, and me and Curtis usually have like the same lunch break with our jobs, and so we talk a lot at lunch, and he tells a lot of funny stories. And the other day we were just talking, and then just about work and stuff, and out of the blue he goes, "And you gotta see this." It's like, okay. So he goes outside and gets in the car, and he comes back, and he's got these slingshots, these huge slingshots. He's like, "Look at how cool these are. They're like these big launchers, and they have rubber, and then like this thing that you hold back. 2 people hold it, and then you put stuff in it and launch it." And him and Holly were just at a family reunion for his family, and he went through and was showing me all these pictures of the eggs that they threw and like how they splattered everywhere. He was just so excited about these launchers. It was so funny. Okay, and then another story. My second one, this was a few weeks ago, and me and my brothers, we were all just playing in the backyard, and it was me and Curtis and Robbie and Ryan and Josh, and we were playing with my big watermelon pool floaty that I got for my birthday, and they were throwing it around. It's like 5 feet. It's really big, and so they're just chucking it around like a frisbee, and so me and Ryan were just standing on the trampoline, and Robbie and Curtis were throwing it back and forth. And I was taking Snapchats of them, like videos. And this one video that I got, it was Curtis, and he was throwing it, and he chucked the thing, and it flew and hit me right in the face. And I got the whole thing on video. It was so funny. And then my eyes like started watering, and he came over and was like, "Are you okay?" It was so funny. So yeah, there's that story.